Oh, goody.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Zombies here again. And today we're back with another episode of This Week in Hearthstone for May 13th, 2022. This week we had the 23.2 patch, and with it came a lot of cool stuff. So most of this episode is just going to be talking about what we got in the patch, as well as a few other cool things from the community. So we're going to dive right on into it here. Before we do, if you enjoy this type of content, do remember to like and subscribe. It does a ton to help out the channel and keeps the videos coming. Without further ado, let's dive on into This Week in Hearthstone for May 13th, 2022. First up, we have some new features that made it into the game. Some of these have been requested by members of the community for a long time, and it is cool to see Hearthstone is finally kind of working on improving what they have rather than making another mode, moving on to the next thing. Ben Lee mentioned that is going to be kind of their goal this year, is to refine the game more, and this is a great way of doing it. So the first one, and probably my favorite of the feature listed here, is upgrade to golden. This is actually a really huge change if you enjoy using golden cards, as now you can upgrade your regular version of a card to a gold version for the difference in dust. This is a pretty significant reduction in cost if you already have the normal version of a card, especially the higher up you go in terms of dust value. Like with an epic here, you could dust that for 100, but it takes, I think, 1600 to make a golden epic, whereas now you're basically getting the full value 400 dust of your card, and that's huge with legendaries in particular. Legendaries cost 3200 dust, and now if you already have it, it's only 1600, so it just cuts the price of those in half, which is really crazy, and it's really nice. You know, people have asked for this feature for a long time, and I'm really glad to finally see it in the game. Then on top of that, now you can share deck codes a bit more easily in the game, which is pretty cool. You don't have to paste that super long line of text. Now it will just automatically recognize, and you can share your decks with your friends. And then we have multiple card back stuff, where now you can favorite multiple card backs. So if you want to have it on random, you can actually have it cycle through a selection of favorites rather than your whole collection of card backs. Moving on to the patch notes. So this is 23.2. These are always Battlegrounds focused patches, so that is going to be the bulk of the news this week. No updates regarding standard in the patch, at least. We'll talk about standard in a little bit. But for Battlegrounds, they changed quite a bit of stuff. The Battlegrounds ratings will be reset, so they have already been reset. Buddies are also leaving Battlegrounds, which is somewhat controversial. It seems pretty split. A lot of people like them, a lot of people are tired of them. So they are leaving the Battlegrounds for now. They've also made some other changes, and probably most importantly, they added the Nagas and a new hero, Queen Ishara. So she seems really cool, and her kind of ability here lets her transform into the Naga Queen Ishara, and then you can discover a Naga. It has the new keyword, spell burst, and all that cool stuff. I'm not going to go super in-depth in detail on all that, but we can see they also got a bunch of new minions added to the pool, and there were also some minions that were taken away. So this should be a pretty exciting change of pace for Battlegrounds. Yeah, tons of minions there. Champion of Yasharj, Deadly Spore, Amalgadon, Seafood Slinger, Captain Flaktusk have all been removed from the minion pool. Nightmare Amalgam has been returned to the minion pool at tier 3, and Bristleback Knight has been returned to the minion pool as a 5-attack minion. They also did a bunch of updates to different armor values and whatnot, so a whole ton of stuff there. If you want to check out some more in-depth information, some great Battlegrounds content creators have you covered. Again, links to all this will be in the description. Mercenaries actually got some updates this time around as well with the patch. Vanessa and Leroy, as well as their portraits, are now available through all normal means, so they are no longer locked out of packs, which is nice. They also implemented a new fatigue system, so after 10 turns, all characters will be taking double damage, which is 4 times damage for crits. So that's a potentially interesting way of dealing with some of the stalemate tie games. They also did some changes regarding the refresh keyword. Now, instead of fully cooling down an ability, refresh will be written as refresh X and reduce the cooldown of an ability by that amount. And this is one of the bigger changes, I think. Completing all bounties in the winter spring zone will now unlock the first bounty in each subsequent zone. So that's pretty sweet, especially because this is being paired with a new limited time event for N'Zoth. These events are really great, and that change right there should make it a little bit more accessible to new and returning players, so you don't have to do all of the PvE content to be able to do the event, which I think is a really big change. But yeah, N'Zoth event, you can get some coins and the N'Zoth character, as well as a regular portrait and a diamond portrait. So these are always really cool and adds a little bit of fun variety to playing the game. I did a breakdown of N'Zoth, and we're going to cover him on the podcast, which will be dropping tomorrow. Also got some special announcements coming there, so definitely stay tuned for that. But N'Zoth is really cool, and the event has been just fun. It's been nice having something to do in Mercenaries while we wait for the big drop in the 0.4 patch. There was also a Mercenaries rework with Blinkfox. Mostly this was just updating the refresh abilities. They also changed Arcane Fling a bit, so now it's not about comboing. Instead, it deals a flat 13 damage, and if the enemy has not acted yet, deals 18. They also gave the Arcane Fang equipment a little bit more damage. Don't think this is going to change a ton of stuff, but I think it ends up being a little bit of a buff for Blinkfox. On top of that, they also updated a bunch of random Mercenaries abilities to now have different spell schools. So you can have, I guess you have these Fel spell schools on Rathorian and Manaros abilities. Tyrion Divine Assault gets Holy Spell School, which is actually maybe pretty big. And then Helm of Domination for the Lich King gets it as well. Chilling Amulet from Varden, I think, has always gotten it, but now the text accurately reflects it. So those are all some minor changes. And then on top of that, we also got a new bounty. This is the Dark Shore, first bounty in it, the Corrupted Murlocs. And unfortunately, the bounty was locked out for a good number of hours on release day. There were a lot of bugs with it, but it's working now, and it is a good way to farm up some N'Zoth coins. So definitely go check that out. Heroic Brawliseum is going to be returning. This has been a long time coming. I used to love doing these events when I played a lot of Standard, and they definitely can be costly at 1,000 gold, but if you do really well or you high roll, you can get that fat 50 packs and some golden legendaries, which is always really awesome. So I think these are fun. I think it's cool doing it every once in a while. I think it's been a long time since they did a high stakes one. I think they've done some lower stakes one, but I think the high stakes ones are really fun. So that is going to be happening next week. So if you're feeling confident about some standard builds and you want to try and win some packs, there you go. Looking at the store, there were some interesting new additions this week. We got the Battlegrounds bundle for the Skullman's Ball, which includes the Party Time effect, as well as some skins for a handful of Battlegrounds characters. There's also another Tidal Force Battleground Strike, as well as being able to get the Party Time one individually. Then for skins, we had some really interesting and unexpected ones this week. We got some Murlocs. So as you can see here, there are Murloc versions of Jaina and Illidan, which is really cool. We also got a Sir Finley Paladin skin. and we do know that there is going to be a Murloc version of Ragnaros and Guff. So definitely look forward to those hitting the shop in the coming weeks. One other thing that was added to the store this week is now there are more options for the golden mini sets. I guess the new one must have sold pretty well, as now they are bringing back the older mini sets available in gold. So you can get Mutanus and Anaconda here, or you can get everyone's favorite Mr. Smite. But these are now available in the store. I believe the pricing is the same as it was for the most recent golden bundle. There are also a number of bug fixes, which I'm not going to get into specifically, but I will have a link in the description where you can check this out. Talking a little bit about standard here, we did have a VS data report come out this week, and it definitely showed some concerning signs in terms of balance. At top legend, Demon Hunter is over 30% right now, which is pretty crazy. It does go down a little bit when you go in the lower ranks, but it's still a huge part of the metagame, and it is not uncommon to run into a bunch of them in a row, and then it turns it into kind of a 2-deck format, which is not very enjoyable. We did get a little bit of a glimpse of hope, though. Some comments from Ixar over on Twitter talking about the kind of way patches work with balance updates and how they don't usually ship in these major content updates because they have to be locked in sooner. So basically it sounds like we will be getting some kind of change, and he does agree Drekthar is a bit more pushed win rate percentage wise than they think it should be. So definitely going to see some stuff about that probably in the next week or two, I would imagine, sometime between now and the next major patch. In arena news, Matt London did make some comments about how nothing is changing with arena with this 23.2 patch. However, there are some changes that they have going on internally that are going to be coming soon. So it's going to be in probably that kind of in-between patch. Maybe it will happen with the standard balance updates. We don't know. But sometime in the near future, they are going to be making some changes to arena, doing some micro adjustments and all that stuff. So arena players can look forward to that. Battlegrounds is definitely the star of the show this weekend, as we do have the Lobby Legends Noble Garden. So this is going to be pretty cool. Nice seeing Battlegrounds get some competitive support, and this is all happening right after this brand new patch where people are still figuring out all the new minions and strategies and all that good stuff, and the impact of buddies no longer being a part of the format. So definitely check that out if you're interested in some Battlegrounds. Battlegrounds definitely got the most out of this update, really changing up the format, adding a bunch of new stuff. If you want a more in-depth recap on any of the Battlegrounds changes and additions and whatnot, I'll have some links in the description for some great videos covering it from Battlegrounds creators. For Mercenaries this week, we had the N'Zoth event kick off. Both myself and Old Guardian have been pumping out a bunch of guides for how to get those event tasks done. There have been some bugs along the way, but they have been acknowledged and I believe are being worked on and might be fixed by the time this goes live. Tomorrow will be episode 20 of the Fighting Pit podcast, and we do have some very special announcements planned for that. So if you're interested in some fun Mercenaries community news, definitely be sure to check that out. The last thing I wanted to cover for today is some interesting and original content. This week, we have it coming from Swagwar, famous wild streamer and memer. He is doing a game show called Talk of the Tavern, Hearthstone themed panel show. So once per expansion, it's going to have 6 panelists sit down and discuss a variety of topics and compete in panel games for a mystery prize. This should be live at the time of this video going up, so definitely go and check that out. And if you miss it, you can also check it out over on his YouTube. There's some great members of the community taking part in this, and it should be a lot of fun. For our meme of the week, we had a fun little thread from the Play Hearthstone Twitter about what the most memeable card was, and people had some funny replies there. So if you want some entertaining memes, definitely check that out. But that is going to wrap it up for this week in Hearthstone. Big week in terms of all the patch stuff and lobby legends going on, as well as some fun community stuff. But other than that, not too much to talk about. Definitely looking forward to some standard updates and maybe some Mercenaries ones as well in the not too distant future. But that is going to do it for this episode. If you enjoyed it, do remember to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.